The Carolina Pro Football Report, presented by National PAL. Support National PAL at nationalpal.org.
The Carolina Panthers head into Week 7 with aspirations of getting back into the win column while still nursing a compiling string of injuries as they get ready for their matchup against the Giants. But before we get into the analysis of this game, let's take a look at our injury report. With McCaffrey now in his second week on IR, he won't be available, nor will Brandon Zylstra, out with a hamstring injury. Chuba Hubbard will continue to be the featured back. Moore, Anderson, and Shi Smith will have to pick up the slack. But now Cam Irving is also questionable for Sunday after missing Friday's practice with an illness. Terrace Marshall is still dealing with the concussion issues along with Giovanni Ricci, both ruled out. Shaq Thompson is ruled out for Sunday as well and still grappling with that foot injury. Frankie Louvu was limited on Thursday, but it looks like C.J. Henderson was at full participation, so good to see him back. Well, hamstring injuries can be tricky, so we sat down with Dr. Logan Evans at Dynamic Health Carolinas to see just how the recovery process for pro athletes like Christian McCaffrey and Zylstra works.
Professional athletes accomplish some of the most amazing feats on the field of play, but to do that, they have to risk suffering complex injuries. One of the most common injuries to pro football players is the hamstring, similar to the injury Carolina Panthers running back Christian McCaffrey is currently recovering from. The average healing time is about 13 days, but that can often be complicated by the intricate nature of what a pro athlete does.
If you're adding additional things, regenerative medicine or different types of specialized rehab equipment, it can be much more rapid than that.
Doctors at Dynamic Health Carolinas in Charlotte, North Carolina, are familiar with treating such injuries, as well as how the damage can affect an athlete's precision.
Especially with a sport like football, you're always dealing with injuries. You're playing with injuries constantly, so the chance of there already being a previous injury there is very, very high. Not necessarily so high that the player is unable to play, but high enough that would predispose you to other injuries in the near future. The hamstring injury can be a tear, or it could be a strain or a sprain as well. Precision is going to be limited.
The staff at Dynamic Health Carolinas serves a range of patients, including athletes, and spoke exclusively to ADSN about the issue, but did not speak specifically about Christian McCaffrey.
They need to be on the field to do their job. So a lot of times I believe they're just getting back into the game before the injury has completely healed. On the other hand, they're dealing with a lot more complexities as well. It's really fun to work with these athletes because they're so in tune with their body, and that allows us to treat the corresponding area appropriately and get a much quicker response.
Hamstring damage is tough to navigate due to the complexity of the muscle itself, which often elicits innovative approaches in the recovery phase.
So you think about what all goes into making the hamstring work. You have your knee, you don't think about it, but your ankle gets involved with the hamstring as well, and your hip and your low back. So the MRS, it focuses on strengthening and rebuilding those neural pathways in order for those muscle groups to fire more appropriately.
I would speculate with an athlete like Christian McCaffrey, he's dealing with multiple injuries on a day-to-day basis. So you can't look at just the major injury that he's dealing with right now, which is potentially the hamstring, but you also have to look at all the other imbalances that potentially led to that injury in the first place.
Another thing that we use is the Unweighted Treadmill. So it uses two different things. So you're working on gait retraining, and then you're also tractioning weight off of the person as well. And for someone that's like an athlete that is always working at this optimal level, doing something like that, not only retraining the way that you're walking, you're also getting that spine to pump in a better, more functional way.
This week, the team made the decision to keep McCaffrey out of the lineup again, which is probably the best decision to prevent re-injury and risk losing him for a much longer stint.
An athlete at this level prevents re-injury by nutrition, rest and recovery, looking outside the box. Absolutely, the players can return to 100%. It's based off of the severity of the injury and if the proper time and proper techniques were utilized to get back to that 100%.
Despite wanting to run more, but with a somewhat weakened running back core, they should really rely a lot more on their tight ends.
You know, obviously we have, some tight ends that we like that we can utilize a lot. We have a couple backs that we like that can both play. And then Shai, Shai's going to play a bunch. He's going to be active. Last week we think he played 15 snaps last week. And I expect that number to either be where it was or maybe go up a little bit more.
So with more on the tight end situation and how they can be better utilized, let's check in with ADSN analyst Charles Arbuckle on that prospect.
All right, so the Panthers have a dilemma. You have to use your tight end. Sam Darnold has struggled in the red zone. This team has struggled in the red zone to scoring opportunities. And I always say this, Janet Jackson says diamonds are a girl's best friend. Well, tight ends are quarterback's best friend. And if the Panthers don't start using their tight ends more effectively, it can be a long season. In 6 games, only 13 receptions at that position. They're good red zone guys. They help you in the running game. The run game has been effective because Ian Thomas and Tommy Tremble have made plays. Now it becomes, can they make plays in the passing game, especially when you have injuries at the wide receiver position where you have to have the big bodies that can help you. Not only have I played the position, I've coached the position, and I've watched the position all my life. These two young men that they have can make plays. The offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, has to have confidence in them as well as Sam Darnold. If that happens, that gives the Panthers a lot of opportunities to do some things in the red zone, but also in anywhere on the field, because a big body versus a smaller linebacker or smaller safety always wins. Let's see if the Panthers are able to utilize this over the next few weeks and get them incorporated. By this point in the season, Greg Olsen probably already had 60 catches if you go back and look. If you look at any tight end for the Panthers when they've been running well and playing well, the tight end position has been a key part of the offense. Let's see if the Panthers can make that happen. Let's see if the genius Joe Brady can get a tight end involved in the offense.
The last time these two teams met, it turned out well for the Panthers, who walked away with the 33-31 win thanks to a Graham Gano field goal. And the man at the helm was none other than 2015 NFL MVP Cam Newton. This time around, they'll be facing Gano, who now plays for the Giants, who recently came out and said that the Carolina Panthers put his career in jeopardy with the 2018 injury misdiagnosis. Well, let's hope that the game is not close enough for the kicking game to be a factor, and it won't if they use those tight ends, like Buck said. And with more on this matchup, let's go to Carolina Panthers Spanish radio analyst Antonio Ramos. Antonio, what are these guys looking like this week, and what do you expect?
Hey, Kevin, thanks again for having me here on the show. Panthers are now 3-3 after a heartbreaking loss in overtime to the Vikings. And this Sunday, they have a chance to bounce back and cut that 3-game losing streak against New York. The Giants have won just 1 game in this season and are pretty banged up for this matchup. They're going to be without star running back Saquon Barkley. Wide receivers Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney are out as well. And starting left tackle Andrew Thomas is out, and the rest of the wide receiver group is questionable. So I think this is a must win for the Panthers to get things back on track. They have to eliminate penalties. They have to eliminate turnovers. They should run the ball better against one of the worst rushing defenses in the entire NFL, like the Giants. They allow 137 yards per game and 29 points allowed. So I expect the Panthers defense to get a decent amount of sacks in the other side of the ball and pressures against Charlotte native Daniel Jones. My prediction, I know that I don't do a lot of predictions, but this game, I'm going to do my prediction is that Carolina wins this one 31-20.
Thanks, Antonio. A win for the Panthers this Sunday is critical. Just 1 year ago, the Panthers were in a tailspin that ended with 5 straight losses. So let's hope they are able to reverse the trend from a year ago that is definitely looming. Although the defense has had some issues stopping the run, they still look stout. Carolina's defense ranks 2nd in the NFL in net passing yards allowed per game with 196.8 and 6th in the NFL in completion percentage. So if the work they claim to have done in practice this week has begun to click, they should be able to stifle the rushing attack of the Giants, who are without Saquon Barkley. Now, since we don't have Charles Arbuckle here to give us our keys to the game, I'm going to do it this week. Key number 1 actually does kind of come off of Charles Arbuckle's list. They got to use more tight ends in the offensive scheme. Using these big receivers can help with the yards after catch stats as well as in the red zone. So hopefully they will incorporate those guys a lot more. Number 2, back to last week, don't beat ourselves. That DBO mantra is very, very, very important for the Panthers. The Panthers have to get back to their training camp mindset and stop letting the penalties add up, the mistakes, the non-penalized mistakes. They got to eliminate all of that type of stuff if they're going to get back on track and get back in the win column. And number 3, blitz Daniel Jones. They have to harass Daniel Jones. It doesn't matter if they put tight ends in front of the pass rushers for the Panthers. It doesn't matter who they throw at them. They have to figure out a way to take away his ability to throw the football. So that wraps it up for the Carolina Pro Football Report on ADSN. Remember to tune in for all your game updates, post-game updates, and news on the Carolina Panthers. I'm Kevin Tolbert. For everyone here at ADSN, we'll see you after the game.
The National Police Athletic and Activities League helps support the mission of kids, cops, and communities. nationalpal.org.